What do you think Sherlock would have done during the miracle?
During Miracle Day?
Yeah, Miracle Day.
I don't know. What do you mean, what would he have done?
I don't know. Like, he would have had no murders to solve.
Yeah, but there are other mysteries.
Oh, that's true.
People stealing things, or...
Maybe that's when they solved the elephant in the room.
Could be. I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
So what did you think about the empty hearse?
I liked it.
Did ya?
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Me too.
Oh, good. You know, it was funny because this is a show that we have not seen in, I believe, 2 years. I mean, not new anyway. It has not been new.
Yeah, I believe it's been just about 2 years. I mean, I think the last season premiered on New Year's Day as well.
Right.
Unless I'm mistaken, which I might be.
Would that have been New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, whichever, 2012?
Yeah?
Well, yeah, because it couldn't have been 2013.
Right. It could not have been.
So it was probably 2012.
Yes, it was on January 1st in the year 2012. And with the exception of the mini-sode that preceded this episode,
right.
There had been nothing for, the better part of 2 years because, there was 2 episodes after the premiere of last season. So, last season concluded on January 15th.
Yeah. So even that was 2 years ago, though.
Well, I mean, almost.
What, January 15th?
It was very slightly less than 2 years before the premiere of this episode.
Oh, yeah, all right.
That's what I'm saying.
I got ya.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I understand the chronology now.
Okay, good.
Anyway, so it's been 2 years-ish.
Yes.
As we've established.
Yes.
Two-ish years.
2-ish years. Minus some days.
So yeah, and I don't know, I guess I tend to do this. I build things up a lot in my mind, and so the longer I go without seeing something, like the greater it's built up in my mind. Like if they had been showing Sherlock year-round for, these past 2 years, 2-ish years, my expectations for a new episode would be pretty low, but my expectations were pretty high. But it met them, I think, almost. Or, like, if it didn't meet them, it got pretty darn close.
I think for me, my expectations tend to ramp up and up and up, but then they hit a peak and then they go down.
Okay.
Like for instance, for the first, when the Reichenbach Fall aired, I was so stoked and I couldn't wait for the next season. And then I just got even more and more like, oh my god, I can't wait. But then somewhere, I don't know when, but at some point there was like a peak where I began to be like less and less. I was like, whatever. I was tired of waiting and I was like, I don't even really care all that much. Not so much that, it just I sort of got less and less enthused in my anticipation. But like for instance, one of the things is it's a little unclear in The Empty Hearse exactly how Sherlock survived that episode.
Well, right.
And I don't care, like, because I think I spent like quite a while after that episode aired sort of being all excited about the possibilities, but there came a point where I just didn't care anymore how he'd survived because we knew he survived.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely, and the thing is, once again, if it had been only a short hiatus, before that cliffhanger, so to speak, was resolved, then, I might have accepted any answer. But yeah, actually, it's funny because even though my anticipation of this episode probably kept going up, my level of caring about how he survived kind of did what you described, and it got really high and it peaked, and then I dropped off and I just didn't care how he survived. And I mean, it's there's kind of a point where I don't know if even Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss actually have a real idea or like a real explanation that they're just sort of hanging on to and sort of keeping secret.
Well, they've said to the press that the actual explanation is the one he gives to Anderson near the end of this episode.
Oh, really?
That should be considered the real explanation. But it's really not framed that way in the episode.
No, it's not. No, there's a lot of doubt cast on it, even in that scene. It ends with Anderson being like freaking out. So I don't like. It was weird because when that scene was playing out, as Sherlock was himself, explaining it, I was accepting it. Like, okay, this must be the real way he did it. I mean, this is kind of a weird segue where it's sort of cut into this sort of other scene that's happening, like as if it were a flashback. And I just sort of assumed, like, okay, well, this must be. I guess they figure Sherlock's about to die for real this time. So let's just give the explanation for how he survived last time. I don't know. And then, after that wrapped up, his explanation wrapped up, and then Anderson started questioning it. I don't know. I kind of, I assumed this was another case of we're being lied to again. And at that point, I was. My chain had been yanked one too many times, and I was tired, and I didn't even really care about an explanation anymore, because I figured it wasn't coming, and it didn't. So no, the episode ended with me thinking, well, they're just not going to explain it at all.
Yeah, like the thing with the squash ball, the fans had sort of called that
right
very far in advance, like almost as soon as the Reichenbach fall aired. Also, the thing with the Sherlock has an explanation for why there would be a body in the morgue that looks just like him,
right?
Which I don't think anyone called that I saw, but it was that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I was happy to accept that explanation was true, even though the episode did cast doubt on it. As far as I'm concerned, that's it. That's all I really need.
Well, yeah, I feel like I guess I'm a little unclear on why it was all like if they had gotten rid of the assassins or whatever, why it was even necessary to fake his death. Like if they took care of those, then why even bother? At that point, it just seems like a cruel trick for John.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Just sheer cruelty.
It could, yeah, and to be honest, I'm completely fine with that. Like, yeah, all right.
Or maybe they didn't know they were going to have the snipers taken care of, so they figured, well, let's just use one of these plans we had. We had 13 plans. And I think they only say they had the sniper taken care of the one that was on John.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they mentioned the other snipers.
So they were just they were hoping word of mouth was going to get around to the other snipers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I can get behind word of mouth. Yeah, and that makes some amount of sense. And I don't, as I said, I don't really need all of the details hammered out for me. And it sort of seems legitimate enough. Like, all right, yeah, I can sort of say, I mean, even if it doesn't all perfectly make sense, it makes enough sense that I'm happy with it. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm happy per se, but...
Well, it's completely far-fetched and ridiculous, but any explanation was always going to be completely far-fetched and ridiculous.
Well, right. I mean, the way they set it up was so final. I mean, it was... You saw him pretty much hit the pavement. This is definitely Sherlock falling. There's only so many scenarios in which this could actually happen. Like there's only so much wiggle room you can have to sort of say, well, okay, well he landed on this big inflatable thingy, and so that's yeah, I don't know. Another thing that I thought was weird, but I guess now that I'm thinking about it actually makes sense, is why they would even bother with a body that looked similar to Sherlock if Sherlock was going to replace the body on the ground anyway. But that could be...
Well, then they needed to show a body falling.
Right.
Yeah, a body needed to be seen to fall.
Right, and it wouldn't work. Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, it wouldn't work for that body to be the one that John sees because maybe it doesn't look similar enough to Sherlock on close inspection, and also it would be probably really cold, and that would be a dead giveaway. Ha!
Yeah, so they needed to have a body to fall, but they also needed it to be the real Sherlock, so that when John got up close, he would see the real Sherlock. And I think part of this was part of the reason that they did it. It wasn't just cruelty. I think Sherlock wanted to go under deep cover to dismantle the criminal network that Moriarty had set up.
Right, yeah.
There's that too. It was all a lot more convincing than what happened in the original short story on which it was based.
Oh, really? I have not read this, so I don't know.
Yeah, basically what happens is that Watson sees two sets of footprints going out to a dead-end waterfall thingy, and then none coming back. And then he sees a note from Sherlock Holmes that says, "I'm probably going to die." And then Watson's like, "Well, I guess he's dead."
Okay.
And then when Sherlock comes home, it's just like, "No, you were wrong. I wasn't actually dead."
Well, that would do it then.
Yeah, sometimes that's really all you need.
Yeah. So there's a lot more evidence to support the fact that Sherlock is actually dead in this than there was in that.
Yeah, except for the fact that, like, in this, like, you see in the end of the episode that he's alive.
Well, right. That's the... Well, and I think you also kind of need that because of how much evidence there is that he died in order to say, yes, this show can perpetuate. I mean, it would be odd if they renewed it for a third season with that and saying, like, well, maybe Sherlock's going to come back for this season. We don't know. and try and maintain that secrecy for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Arthur Conan Doyle's original story, he really did intend for Sherlock to be dead and for there never to be any more Sherlock Holmes stories. As far as he was concerned, he was done. So I mean, this was obviously not their intention with Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss. So they had to do it a little differently. Right.
I'm trying to imagine what went through Conan Doyle's head. Like, did he intend for Sherlock Holmes's supposed death to be that ambiguous? You know, just in case. Or did he, in his mind, did he actually think that was enough?
I guess he would have thought that was enough. I mean, because the stories are always from Watson's perspective.
That's true.
So, I mean, unless maybe he just didn't want to have Watson witness, a murder or anything.
I guess that makes sense. I'll go with that. I did like what they did to Anderson in terms of, like, the story and sort of making him this kind of crazed fan, really, I guess.
Well, yeah, I don't think he was all that interesting a character before, so now he is.
Yeah. They've given him something interesting to be, which is kind of like the hardcore Sherlock fan surrogate, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or just anyone who was, super obsessed with how he survived.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm assuming that most people who became super obsessed with how Sherlock survived the end of season 2, grew this kind of, unkempt beard.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And apparently got fired from whatever their job was.
I like to hope so.
Yes. But so that was fun.
It was. I enjoyed it. I didn't quite understand what he was trying to do with the skeleton mystery.
Yeah, it seemed like that was kind of like if he was trying to, I don't know, draw Sherlock out of hiding.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what he was trying to do.
Maybe that is like an analog to, like, Sherlock fans writing Sherlock fan fiction and
to try to draw the fictional Sherlock as played by Benedict Cumberbatch out of hiding.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I don't know why he thought it would work though, because I mean, obviously Sherlock did investigate it, but that was after he had already intended to come back due to a terrorist plot.
Yeah, those terrorist plots.
In some sense, you wonder why, Anderson didn't think to plot a terrorism attack.
Why didn't he? That's a good question. Probably should have plotted a terrorist attack.
I mean, isn't that... Obviously, when you want to draw someone out of hiding, you plan a terrorist attack in their hometown.
Yeah, that's... I don't think that's legal.
Is putting up a skeleton in probably, private property, is that legal?
I mean, I honestly don't know.
I guess, the legality of that is a little bit more up for grabs. It's more of a gray area than terrorist attacks.
Yeah, probably.
Just a little bit more wiggle room there. At most, I'm sure Anderson could just say it was some kind of practical joke.
Mm-hmm. Very practical.
Right.
As jokes go.
Right. He was only doing it so that, they could get Sherlock back, which would obviously benefit everyone because he would solve crimes for them.
Mm-hmm.
So really, he was only doing the smart thing.
I suppose he truly was. He's the real genius.
Although, yeah, I don't know why he made that book. How I Did It by Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very strange what he's sort of put together here. I don't know that I noticed anything like coherent about it. It's just like, here's a skeleton, here's How I Did It by Jack the Ripper.
Do you think that book actually contained something? Like, do you think maybe that was Anderson's fan fiction? Like, he wrote a Jack the Ripper fanfic, and maybe like he was hoping it would get published, and this was his plan?
Yes. This
was his sub-plan on top of getting Sherlock back.
Wheels within wheels, plans within plans.
Yeah, he was... This is all a big plan for him to get published.
Mm-hmm.
Taking none of the credit, but, hey, it's not all about the credit.
Yeah, it's not about the credit. It's about something, but I don't know what.
As for the actual terrorist plot,
mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like there was a whole lot to it.
No, it was just, train bomb. Just explode a train.
Right.
Well, what would you have expected there to be more to it?
No, I guess not. I'm not, bothered by it. It's just, once again, this is something that I tend to build up because there are so few of these being Sherlock episodes. I kind of put a lot of weight onto them, and I expect them to be, this is, the equivalent of 3 episodes of Doctor Who. Let's say. I mean, if we're going to weigh these things out that way. So I want it to be good. I want it to have that value.
Well, I think it's something that kind of it's I think it's true in general of Sherlock, but it's especially true of the 3 episodes this season. Is that none of them are really focused on one particular case that he's solving.
Right.
All of them sort of involve a bunch of different things that sometimes come together and sometimes don't. So the terrorist plot wasn't really the main focus of the episode. The main focus of the episode was about Sherlock coming home.
Right.
And that was really it.
Right. These episodes are this episode is more about the characters, I guess you could say, and what Sherlock coming back does to them. And, and I don't mind that. I like that they explored that, and I think that that's important. But it's interesting, and I would say that is, I would agree with that sort of assessment that, the show has kind of shifted from being a case-by-case, whatever, murder mystery of the week kind of thing, to this sort of almost, not quite, I wouldn't call it like a soap opera, but it's more it's more focused on the characters and the stuff that they're going through in their lives, and not so much the crimes and the solvings thereupon.
Yeah, the whole idea of the Sherlock Holmes stories originally was that every story involves someone comes to Sherlock Holmes with a mystery, and then Sherlock Holmes investigates it, and the solution to it is always some self-contained thing that has to do with just a person who is motivated to do something bad. It's not like terrorists or criminal conspiracies or anything like that. It's always something simple like that. Whereas with Sherlock, he does do that sort of thing, and we sometimes see him doing that sort of thing. And we sometimes hear references to occasions where he's done that sort of thing. But it's not the main focus. No episode revolves around, that happening.
Right.
This season anyway. I mean, I feel like, for instance, the Hounds of Baskerville is an example of one that kind of does revolve around that.
Yeah.
But this season, it sort of leaves that completely behind.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it would have been very strange for them to just dive right back into, okay, well, Sherlock's back, now let's do another case of the week kind of thing. And I feel like that would have been a bad direction to take it in. So I don't disagree with the decision to do it this way. Like, I think it's good. I mean, I love seeing these characters, so I don't mind that it's just mostly about them. And that's fine.
I agree. It is fine.
I mean, in some sense, I don't know if I've come to expect this show to be like case of the week type thing. I know I keep using that phrase. I don't know if I expect that, but I mean, I'm okay without it, I guess. Which is interesting because I don't know if I would have thought that I would. Like if you had told me that these episodes weren't going to be the same format that I'm used to for Sherlock, I don't know if I'd be happy with that. But it turned out okay, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of like it because there are 9 episodes of Sherlock, and every one is pretty different from all of the others.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it more interesting that way.
Yeah. So I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with them being different.
They got Darren Brown to be in this.
I did not know who that was until I looked him up.
He's a well-known British magician guy, or illusionist, I guess.
Is that like the politically correct term?
I think so. Yes. and he's like a hypnotist too, I believe.
Yeah. So that was of course Justin Anderson's theory.
Yeah. Oh yes, he wasn't really involved. He wasn't really in the episode.
Right, it was just in a hypothetical portion of the episode.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny though, especially because he was also mentioned in Day of the Doctor.
Wait, was he?
Yeah, and in the opening when Osgood asks Kate Stewart, how are we going to explain to the public what just happened here after like they fly in the TARDIS? She says like, we're just going to tell him it's a Darren Brown thing. We'll send him flowers or something. It was something along those lines, but yeah, I thought it was just kind of funny because the big 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who and the big return episode of Sherlock both have very early Darren Brown references.
Yeah, I think that proves it that Doctor Who and Sherlock happen in the same universe.
I guess they must. And I don't care about any continuity problems that causes.
Yep. I feel like, Stephen Moffat tends to... I wonder how compartmentalized Stephen Moffat actually is when he's writing Doctor Who and Sherlock. Like, I get the sense that they kind of bleed into each other.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, although it does produce results like this, where they've got 2 references that are similar.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Oh, well, indeed. I'm sure it will continue to happen until Stephen Moffat is no longer a showrunner of Doctor Who or Sherlock, whichever. I don't think he would stop being a showrunner on Sherlock, but
I don't know.
I suppose
probably not, because that's more of his thing, his and Mark Gatiss' thing. So I presume that for as long as it exists, they will be running it.
Yeah, I should think. It is kind of nice that, not that like it's super great, but it's nice that just as we got the last bit of Doctor Who that we're going to get for a while, Sherlock comes back. And that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is kind of nice.
It would have been nicer if there had been, some Sherlock during the last, break we had between, I guess, series 6 and 7. Or, well, technically between the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe and the start of series 7. I guess that was the longest gap, probably. Would have been nice if they could have wedged a season of Sherlock in there, but whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, couldn't they have wedged?
If only they could have wedged.
So in this episode, we meet Sherlock's parents.
Yes, we do.
Who are played by his actual parents, Benedict Cumberbatch's actual parents.
Yeah, I read that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know, I guess they are all. I mean, like, I guess the role is small enough that they didn't even have to be like professional actors. Although I'm guessing.
Oh, they're both actors.
I figured they were.
In fact, if hypothetically we had an episode about Image of the Fendal that we had recorded but hadn't released yet, then in that episode we would discuss the fact that Wanda Ventham, Benedict Cumberbatch's mother, is actually in that.
Oh yeah, yeah. If only that very specific set of events had happened.
Or were going to happen.
Well,
or
yes.
Something. I don't know.
Will have happened.
Someday.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat. I guess it makes sense, Benedict Cumberbatch becoming an actor, raised by actor parents.
Yeah, I just think it's funny that his name is Timothy Carlton, her name is Wanda Ventham, and his name is Benedict Cumberbatch.
How did he end up with that name?
I think Timothy Carlton's real name is Timothy Cumberbatch. That's what I think it is. Or something Cumberbatch. I think that's his real name, and he decided not to use it. Benedict said that he would use it. So, and is now using it. Is currently using it.
Well, that would do it.
And Amanda Abington, who plays Mary, is actually Martin Freeman's real life partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this... I was going to say that this... You know what? Never mind. I'm not going to bother. No, I was going to say this is like practically incest, except not really. It's like actor incest, maybe. But that's weird. That's kind of weird. I don't know. And I mean, like, it's funny because there's no real reason that has to be like for Martin Freeman's significant other to be cast as John Watson's significant other. Although it makes sense that Benedict Cumberbatch's parents would be cast as, you know, Sherlock's parents, because, you know, who would look more like the parents that could produce, you know, that human than the humans who than the humans who actually did it. So, you know, it adds to the realism, I guess.
But they don't look all that much like Mark Gatiss.
Well, you know, maybe he was adopted.
Could be.
So yeah, that's true. That's like the one bump in the carpet or whatever that you can't really, you know, unless it's suddenly revealed that Benedict Cumberbatch and Mark Gatiss are actually related. But even then, they still don't look alike. But yeah, I mean, they've never, you know, as siblings, they've never looked alike. So I mean, you know, you kind of just have to accept that, you know, I don't know, maybe the genes just kind of coalesced in a weird way and produced Mark Gatiss.
Maybe.
I don't know how genetics works.
You've probably got it right. I'm sure you've got it right. In any case, on Tumblr, among the people who hate Stephen Moffat,
okay,
I've seen a couple of them complaining, Moffat needs a wife for John, just use his real life partner. Needs parents for Sherlock, just use his real life parents. Someone's out of ideas.
This wasn't like ironic, like they weren't trying to be funny?
I don't think so. I think this was sincere. I just thought that was funny because I saw at least one, and I think I saw another post expressing a similar frustration with the lack of creativity there.
Okay. I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, sure. As if you need like to be creative when you're casting someone. That's a sign. That's a sign that you're running out of ideas.
Yep, clearly.
and you know what? He cast Darren Brown as Darren Brown. So what?
Awful.
So come on. Could that get any more unoriginal?
I suppose not. They should have cast a woman to play Darren Brown. That would have been a really daring choice.
Yes, it would have. I think that's... Yeah, it's a real shame. Because, I mean, you know, Darren Brown doesn't have to be a white guy. He could be anything.
Darren Brown is in a way, Darren Brown is all of us. But, yeah. So,
yeah. Well, that is Tumblr for you.
It is certainly Tumblr. So what did you think of Mary?
I thought she was interesting. I mean, I liked that they sort of set up Mary in this episode as being this kind of mystery that Sherlock didn't really have like a beat on. And I kind of liked that sort of setup. I liked getting like hints that there was more going on this season than just what was on the surface.
Yeah, somehow I didn't really pick up on that the first time through.
Well, I don't think I did either. It was only on subsequent viewings where I was kind of like, the words aren't stopping. When they do that visual thing where like the words that are adjectives for the person Sherlock's looking at sort of like hover around them, and there's no words that like settle on Mary.
Yeah.
And so I didn't pick up on that the first time, but I assumed in subsequent viewings that like, this is supposed to be like he can't figure her out or something, which turned out to be, I guess, the case.
And she sure does know skip codes.
She does know those skip codes. I didn't know what a skip code was.
Nor I. But now I do.
Yeah. And I want to know the mechanics of it. Like, is it always like, the first word and then the third word, like, and then like every third word after that? Or is it just you got to figure out how many words after it that it is?
I don't know.
I mean, like, there's a limit.
Maybe I don't know skip codes.
It's still a mystery. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a finite number of combinations given a finite length message. So, it wouldn't take too long to sort of figure out, well, does saying every second word, does that make sense? No, okay. Every third word, does that make sense? And just keep going like that until you've got the code, the message that you think you're supposed to have. So, not a difficult code to crack once you figure out that it is in fact a skip code.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you, I don't know, sprinkle in like a Caesar cipher with it also, but that might be a little too complicated for texting.
It may well be.
Well, yeah, and it's, I don't even remember if we even see Sherlock be, like, concerned that she knows what a skip code is.
No.
Yeah, that's... Because in, like, the episode where that becomes a big deal, that's, like, they show, like, a scene of him, like, doing, like, a double take or whatever. But it's not brought up in this episode as being a big deal. He just kind of accepts it and rolls with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Some people just know skip codes.
Some people do. Some people do, and some people don't.
Some people are just born knowing skip codes.
They just, they know them. Another thing that's brought up is, or not really brought up, but like, well, it's brought up, is like, who kidnaps John? Because that is a thing that happens in the episode. But the episode ends with that not being resolved. Except for the fact that we sort of see a hint in that there's like this guy watching this movie.
Yeah, we don't find out what the deal is with that. At the end, John asks, "Hey, what's the deal with that?" And Sherlock says, "I don't know."
So yeah, it's pretty clearly left unknown.
For now.
Yes. So yeah, I think this was a good first episode of the season for those reasons. Like, it sets up stuff that carries through. And I don't know if how well the first two seasons did that, because it's been a while since I've seen them.
Well, I feel like the first two seasons had less arc stuff.
That's true.
I know the first season sort of set up Moriarty.
That's true, right? Because in the first episode, he's kind of like stepping on the taxi guy's shoulder, and he's like, "The name," and eventually the guy says Moriarty, and then he dies. And so that's kind of all the arc we get.
Yeah, and then in the second season opener picks up the cliffhanger at the end of the first season with the pool.
Right.
And then there's a suggestion at the end that Moriarty was somehow involved, but there's not much of a concrete arc. I feel like this season has more of an arc to it than the other ones did.
Yeah. They do seem to, because it's. I remember in the first season thinking that the middle episode wasn't really that important. Like, it could have been completely removed, and you could have just safely watched episodes 1 and 3.
It also wasn't very good.
Well, yeah, there's that too. So I think here you can't really do that. No, you definitely can't do it because they're all very tightly connected.
Yeah, I think last time we talked about Sherlock when we did our discussion about season 2, which was one episode on the whole season. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things we noted was how, whereas Stephen Moffat has kind of in Doctor Who, he had kind of a reputation for quote unquote story arcs. In Sherlock, what he was seeming to do was tell, big stories that fit within one, 90-minute mini movie, where each story seemed really big and huge, but didn't connect to the other ones. Now, It seems like he's kind of flipped that around with Sherlock. This is very, very much connected this season as Sherlock is. Whereas with Doctor Who, he has tended away from doing story arcs.
Yeah, I guess his life always needs to find a balance. Like his work must always strike that balance where there's something he's doing that's full of arcs, and there's something he's doing where it's very episodic.
Mm-hmm.
And that must just be the way his mind works.
Yeah. Although I feel like I keep falling into the trap of thinking of this as a Stephen Moffat show, when it's not really. It's a Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss show. Right.
Because Mark Gatiss does write episodes for Doctor Who, but he's not showrunner.
He's not the boss.
No, he isn't. Could be the next boss, but we don't know.
We don't know.
And we don't know how soon that would even happen. So it's silly to even talk in those terms.
It's very silly.
It's nice to have Sherlock back. That's all I can say.
I think it's very nice to have Sherlock back for the very brief time that it comes back. And I hope we don't have to wait 2 years for the next season.
Yeah. Because Series 4 has been confirmed, right?
Series 4 has been confirmed, and they've talked about a little bit about... Moffat and Gatiss have said that they have ideas for Series 5, but that's not a confirmation.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not 100% sure Series 4 has even been confirmed.
Oh, I thought I heard that it had.
Well, you may have heard, and I might be wrong. Okay, no, Series 4 has been confirmed.
Oh, okay. Well, good, because I wouldn't want it to not be confirmed, because that would be...
Okay. Yeah, the next 2 seasons of Doctor Who have already been confirmed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they've also been confirmed that they're going to be airing without splits.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, wait, okay, so what you're saying is both Series 8 and 9 have been confirmed of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And neither of them will have splits.
Yep.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Moffat has claimed this, although he's a dirty liar.
That's true. He says a lot of things that aren't true. So I think what that actually means is, well, but he didn't say. See, the thing is, he didn't say when Series 9 would even happen. So Series 8, that's definitely happening this year, or it definitely seems like production has been chugging along with the intention of airing later this year. But we don't know when Series 9 is going to happen. Series 9 could be a 2-year break, like Sherlock. Maybe he's going to...
No, I think he said Series 9 is going to be in 2015.
Now he's giving way too many details. Now I know he's lying.
Yeah. It just can't be true.
No. Because that's what people do when they lie, isn't it? Like they give a lot of details because they're trying to make the lie believable.
Yeah, I guess so.
So that's obviously, that's what Stephen Moffat's doing.
Sherlock's not even real. It's fictional. There's a lot of detail in there. That's how you know.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So Doctor Who could be, like, the shenanigans could be over, where they're doing strange things with the schedule. That could be over. Maybe for good.
Maybe. But we don't know about Sherlock.
No, we don't. No, maybe they'll do a split season of Sherlock.
Just do 1 episode, then wait a year, and then do 2 more episodes.
Exactly.
I think, I don't know. I might prefer it if they space them out more, given that it's only... they could do each one as a special instead of doing them as a run of 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you that's definitely a good point because, once again, if this were, if we translate these Sherlock episodes to Doctor Who episodes, that's 3 episodes of Doctor Who. They could easily, if nothing else, air them once every 3 weeks, Then don't even have to be specials. Specials would work too. Now that I'm thinking about it, though, they could just do a Sherlock episode every holiday. I'd be down with that.
Yeah, do a very Sherlock Halloween.
Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of Halloween stuff that Sherlock could do.
I want to know what everyone would dress up as.
That's true. That's a good point.
This is the greatest mystery that has not yet been solved.
Because, I mean, it says a lot about your personality, I think. Maybe Sherlock and John would just dress up as each other. But do it like the Victorian characters.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think so.